The jeweled stūpa appears. Chapter 11.
In the past, when the Buddha Many Treasures was practicing the Bodhisattva Path, he made the vow that whenever and wherever the Dharma Lotus Sūtra is being taught, he will come in his stūpa to listen to it and to bear witness to its excellence. As Śākyamuni Buddha is about to teach the Dharma Lotus Sūtra, the stūpa of Buddha Many Treasures emerges from the earth. All the transformation bodies of Śākyamuni Buddha return from every direction and assemble at Vulture Peak. Then from within the jeweled stūpa, Buddha Many Treasures offers half his seat to Śākyamuni Buddha, an interesting gesture that has prompted several interpretations. One of these interpretations says that two Buddhas seated side by side on the same chair represents the teaching that all Buddhas follow the same path. Another interpretation says that an ancient Buddha who long ago entered parinirvāṇa, inviting a present Buddha to sit by his side, indicates that there is neither birth nor death, that nothing comes into being or ceases to be. Yet another interpretation says that Buddha Many Treasures and Śākyamuni Buddha, two Buddhas sitting on the same seat, represents that the provisional and the ultimate are non-dual. The provisional is the ultimate, and the ultimate is the provisional. These two approaches might differ, but they lead to the same goal.
At that time, there manifested before the Buddha a stūpa made of the 7 treasures, 500 yojanas in height, and 250 yojanas square. It emerged from the earth and remained suspended in space. Adorned with all kinds of precious objects, it had 5,000 railings, thousands upon thousands of niches, and countless banners and pennants as adornments. Hanging from it were jeweled necklaces and 10,000 kotis of jeweled bells. The fragrance of Tamalapatra Chandana issued from its 4 sides, filling the entire world. Its pennants and canopies were made of the 7 treasures: gold, silver, vidurya, giant clamshell, carnelian, pearl, and rhodonite, and reached up toward the palaces of the 4 heavenly kings. From the heaven of the 33, heavenly mandarava flowers rained down as an offering to the jeweled stūpa. All the gods, dragons, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kimnaras, mahoragas, humans and non-humans, thousands upon thousands of kotis of them, made offerings of all kinds of flowers, incense, jeweled necklaces, pennants, canopies, and music to the jeweled stūpa, honoring it with reverence and praise. Then from the stūpa emerged a tremendous voice, saying in praise, "Good indeed, world-honored one Śākyamuni. With impartial wisdom you are able to teach the great multitudes the wonderful Dharma Lotus Sūtra, the Dharma for the teaching of Bodhisattvas, and protected and cherished by all Buddhas. So it is, world-honored one Śākyamuni, that which you have expounded is true and real." Just then the 4-fold assembly, seeing the great jeweled stūpa remain suspended in space and hearing the voice from within, all gained Dharma joy and marveled at this unprecedented occurrence. Rising from their seats, they reverently placed their palms together and withdrew to one side. Just then, a Bodhisattva Mahasattva by the name of Great Eloquence, knowing the doubts in the minds of the gods, humans, asuras, and others from all the worlds, said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, for what reason has this jeweled stūpa emerged from the earth, and why does this voice come forth?" Then the Buddha said to Bodhisattva Great Eloquence, "Within this jeweled stūpa is the complete body of the Tathagata. Long ago, countless tens of millions of kotis of asamkhayas of worlds to the east, in a land called Jeweled Purity, there was a Buddha known as Many Treasures. When that Buddha was practicing the Bodhisattva Path, he made a great vow. After I have become a Buddha and have passed into parinirvāṇa, if the Dharma Flower Sutra is being taught in any of the lands throughout the 10 directions, my stūpa shall appear to listen to this sutra and bear witness to the excellence of its teaching with the words of praise, good indeed." After that Buddha had realized Buddhahood, and before he entered parinirvāṇa, he said to the bhikshus among the great multitudes of gods and humans, "After my parinirvāṇa, those who wish to make offerings to my complete body should build a large stūpa." Using his spiritual skills and the power of vows, that Buddha will make his jeweled stūpa appear in worlds throughout the 10 directions, wherever anyone teaches the Dharma Flower Sutra. His complete body contained in the stūpa will say in praise, "Good indeed, good indeed. Great eloquence. The stūpa of Tathagata Many Treasures has now emerged from the earth, so that he may listen to the Dharma Flower Sutra and say in praise, good indeed, good indeed." Then Bodhisattva Great Eloquence, by means of the spiritual power of the Tathagata, said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, we all wish to see this Buddha's body." The Buddha said to Bodhisattva Mahasattva Great Eloquence, "This Buddha, Many Treasures, made a profound and sincere vow. When my jeweled stūpa appears in the presence of the Buddhas to listen to the Dharma Flower Sutra, if any of them wishes to show my body to the fourfold assembly, then the transformation bodies of those Buddhas who are teaching this Dharma in the worlds throughout the 10 directions will have to return and gather together in one place. Afterward, my body will appear. Great eloquence, all my transformation bodies, which are teaching the Dharma in the worlds throughout the 10 directions, shall now gather together." Great Eloquence said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, we also wish to see the transformation bodies of the world-honored one, and to bow and make offerings to them." At that time, the Buddha emitted a ray of light from the white curl of hair between his eyebrows that made visible the Buddhas in lands to the east, equal in number to the grains of sand in 5 million kotis of Nayutas of Ganges rivers. All those lands had ground made of crystal and were adorned with jeweled trees and jeweled garments. They were filled with innumerable tens of millions of kotis of bodhisattvas. Jeweled curtains were hung everywhere, and jeweled nets were spread above. The Buddhas in those lands were teaching the Dharma with wondrous, resonant voices. The innumerable tens of millions of kotis of bodhisattvas filling those lands were also seen teaching the Dharma to the multitudes. All the lands to the south, west, north, the 4 intermediate directions, above and below, wherever the white curl of hair cast its light, were all like this. At that time, all the Buddhas of the 10 directions addressed the multitudes of bodhisattvas, saying, "Good men, we shall now go to the Saha world, the realm of Buddha Śākyamuni, and make offerings to the stūpa of Tathagata Many Treasures." Then the Saha world was immediately purified. The ground was made of Vaidurya and was adorned with jeweled trees. Its 8 roads were bordered with golden cords. There were no towns, villages, cities, oceans, rivers, streams, mountains, brooks, forests, or thickets. Precious incense was burning, and mandarava flowers were strewn all over the ground. Jeweled nets covered it above, with jeweled bells hanging down from them. The assembly alone remained, all other gods and humans having been removed to other lands. Then each of the Buddhas brought with him one great bodhisattva as an attendant, and traveled to the Saha world, where he settled at the base of a jeweled tree. Each jeweled tree was 500 yojanas in height, and adorned with branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits in their proper places. At the base of each jeweled tree was a lion throne 5 yojanas in height, and bedecked with great treasures. The Buddhas then seated themselves in the lotus posture on these thrones. In this way, they filled up the trichilocosm, and still there was not room enough to seat the transformation bodies of Śākyamuni Buddha from even one direction. Then Śākyamuni Buddha, wishing to accommodate all of his transformation bodies, transformed 2 million kotis of nayutas of lands in each of the 8 directions, purifying them all and freeing them of hells, hungry ghosts, animals, and asuras. The gods and humans were also moved to other lands. The lands he transformed were made of Vaidurya, and were adorned with jeweled trees 500 yojanas in height, and decorated with branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits in their proper places. At the base of each tree was a jeweled lion throne, 5 yojanas in height, and adorned with various treasures. There were no oceans, rivers, or streams, no Muchalinda or Maha Muchalinda mountains, no ring of iron or great ring of iron mountains, and no Mount Sumeru or any other king of mountains. All these lands were then joined together into a single Buddha land. The jeweled ground was flat and even, covered entirely with jewel-strewn curtains and hung with pennants and canopies. Precious incense was burning, and precious heavenly flowers were strewn all over the ground. In order to prepare seats for the Buddhas who were yet to arrive, Śākyamuni Buddha then transformed an additional 2 million kotis of nayutas of lands in each of the 8 directions, purifying them all and freeing them of hells, hungry ghosts, animals, and asuras. The gods and humans were also moved to other lands. The lands he transformed were made of Vaidurya, and were adorned with jeweled trees 500 yojanas in height, and decorated with branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits, each in its proper place. At the base of each tree was a jeweled lion throne 5 yojanas in height, and adorned with grand treasures. There were no oceans, rivers, or streams, no Muchalinda or Maha Muchalinda mountains, no ring of iron or great ring of iron mountains, and no Mount Sumeru or any other king of mountains. All these lands were then joined together into a single Buddha land. The jeweled ground was flat and even, covered entirely with jewel-strewn curtains and hung with pennants and canopies. Precious incense was burning, and precious heavenly flowers were strewn all over the ground. Then the transformation bodies of Śākyamuni Buddha from the east, each teaching the Dharma in lands equal in number to the grains of sand in billions of kotis of nayutas of Ganges rivers, assembled there. The Buddhas of the 10 directions likewise arrived one after another to assemble there, taking their seats in the 8 directions. At that time, the Buddhas, Tathagatas, filled 4 million kotis of nayutas of lands in each direction. At that time, each Buddha was seated on a lion throne beneath a jeweled tree. Each sent an attendant to inquire after Śākyamuni Buddha, and to carry precious flowers with both hands, saying, "Good man, go to Vulture Peak, where Śākyamuni Buddha is, and relay my words." Are you free of illness and distress? Are you full of energy and at ease? Are the multitudes of bodhisattvas and shravakas at peace? Then scatter these precious flowers over the Buddha as an offering and say, "The Buddha so and so wishes the jeweled stūpa to be opened." All the Buddhas sent attendants to make similar requests. Then Śākyamuni Buddha, seeing that his transformation bodies had all assembled and were seated on their lion thrones, and hearing that all the Buddhas expressed the same wish that the jeweled stūpa be opened, rose from his seat and remained suspended in space. The fourfold assembly, rising with palms together, single-mindedly gazed upon the Buddha. Thereupon, Śākyamuni Buddha, with the fingers of his right hand, opened the door of the stūpa of the 7 treasures, making a great sound as if unlocking the bolt of a large city gate. Thereupon, the entire assembly saw Tathagata many treasures inside the jeweled stūpa, seated upon the lion throne, his whole body composed as if he were in samadhi. They also heard him say, "Good indeed, good indeed." Śākyamuni Buddha quickly explained the Dharma Flower Sutra. I have come to listen to it. At that time, the fourfold assembly, witnessing the Buddha who had entered parinirvāṇa countless tens of millions of kotis of eons ago speaking these words, marveled at this unprecedented occasion, then scattered heaps of precious heavenly flowers over Buddha many treasures and Śākyamuni Buddha. At that time, Buddha many treasures in the jeweled stūpa offered half his seat to Śākyamuni Buddha, saying, "Śākyamuni Buddha, you may have a seat here." Thereupon, Śākyamuni Buddha entered the stūpa and sat in full lotus on half of that seat. At that time, the great assembly, seeing the 2 Tathagatas seated in the stūpa of the 7 treasures in full lotus on the lion throne, all had this thought: the Buddhas are sitting high above and far away. We sincerely hope that the Tathagatas will use their spiritual powers to enable us to remain in space with them. The entire assembly was then borne aloft in space through Śākyamuni Buddha's spiritual powers. With a great voice, he addressed the fourfold assembly, saying, "Who in this Saha world can extensively expound this wonderful Dharma Lotus Sutra? Now is the right time, for the Tathagata will shortly enter parinirvāṇa. The Buddha wishes to bequeath to that person the wonderful Dharma Lotus Sutra." Then the world-honored one, wishing to restate his meaning, spoke in verse. The Sage Lord, the world-honored one, although he long ago entered parinirvāṇa, within his jeweled stūpa has come here for the Dharma. How can we not diligently practice the Dharma? Although this Buddha passed into parinirvāṇa countless eons ago, he goes from place to listen to the Dharma, for it is difficult to encounter. It was that Buddha's past vow: after my parinirvāṇa, I will go everywhere in order to hear this Dharma. My transformation bodies, countless Buddhas equal in number to the Ganges sands, have come here wishing to listen to the Dharma and to behold Tathagata many treasures, who has already entered parinirvāṇa. Each has abandoned his wondrous lands and his multitude of disciples. Gods, people, dragons, and spirits, with their various offerings, have come here to ensure that the Dharma abides forever. In order to seat these Buddhas, I have used my spiritual powers to move the countless multitudes and purify the lands. Each of the Buddhas takes his place beneath a jeweled tree, just as a lotus adorns a clean and limpid pond. Under the jeweled trees are lion thrones upon which the Buddhas sit, radiating splendor, like great torches gleaming in the darkness of the night. Their bodies emit a delicate fragrance, pervading the lands in the 10 directions. The scent envelops all beings, overwhelming them with joy, just as a great wind blows through small branches. By virtue of this skillful means, the Dharma will remain forever. To the great assembly, I say, after my parinirvāṇa, whoever can protect, uphold, read, and explain this sutra should now, in the presence of the Buddhas, announce his vow. Although Buddha Many Treasures entered parinirvāṇa long ago, because of his great vow, he still utters the lion's roar. Tathagata Many Treasures, as well as myself and the transformation Buddhas here assembled, will know of your intention. All of you disciples of the Buddha, whoever can protect this Dharma should make a great vow to ensure that the Dharma will long abide. Whoever can protect the Dharma of this sutra will thereby have made offerings to me and Many Treasures. This Buddha, Many Treasures, dwelling in the jeweled stūpa, always travels throughout the 10 directions for the sake of this sutra. Such people will also have made offerings to the transformation Buddhas assembled here, who adorn all the worlds with splendor. To teach this sutra is to see me, Tathagata Many Treasures, and all the transformation Buddhas. All of you good men, think it over carefully. This is a difficult matter, requiring a great vow. It is not difficult to explain other sutras, as many as the Ganges sands. If one were to take Mount Sumeru and toss it to another land across numberless Buddha lands, that would not be difficult either. Nor would it be difficult to dislodge the trichilocosm with a toe and throw it far to a distant land. To stand on the summit of existence and teach the multitudes countless other sutras, that too would not be difficult. But after the Buddha's parinirvāṇa, to explain this sutra in a troubled age will be difficult. If someone were to hold empty space in his hand and travel about with it, that would not be difficult. But if, after my parinirvāṇa, one writes out or upholds this sutra, or encourages others to write it out, that will be difficult. If one were to place the earth on one's toenail and ascend to the Brahma heavens, that too would not be difficult. After the Buddha's parinirvāṇa, in a troubled age, to read this sutra for but an instant, that will be difficult. If, during the fire at the aeon's end, one carried a load of dry grass and entered the fire without being burned, that would not be difficult. After my parinirvāṇa, if one can uphold this sutra and explain it to even one person, that will be difficult. If one upheld 84,000 Dharma treasuries and explained to others the 12 categories of sutra texts, enabling all listeners to attain the 6 spiritual skills, even if one could do this, that would not be difficult. But if, after my parinirvāṇa, one hears this sutra and inquires into its meaning, that will be difficult. Even if one were to bring benefit to tens of millions of kotis of beings, as many as the grains of sand in countless, numberless Ganges rivers, by teaching them the Dharma, enabling them to attain arhatship and perfect the 6 spiritual skills, it would not be considered difficult. But after my parinirvāṇa, If one can uphold a sutra like this, that will be difficult indeed. I, for the sake of Buddhahood, throughout countless lands, from the beginning of time until now, have extensively taught all the sutras. Among them, this sutra is foremost. Whoever can uphold it is preserving the Buddha's body. Good men, after my parinirvāṇa, let whoever can uphold, read, and recite this sutra now in the presence of the Buddhas proclaim his vow. This sutra is difficult to uphold. If one upholds it for but an instant, I shall rejoice, as will all the Buddhas. One such as this shall be praised by all Buddhas. This is courage. This is vigor. This is called upholding precepts and the practice of the Dutta. He shall then quickly realize supreme Buddhahood. If, in the future, one reads and upholds this sutra, he will then be a true disciple of the Buddha, dwelling on the pure, good ground. After the Buddha's parinirvāṇa, if one can understand its meaning, he will act as eyes for all the gods and humans in the world. In a world full of terror and fear, if one explains this sutra for but an instant, all gods and humans will make offerings to him.